is Kathy Nelson. I'm the founder of the Photo Managers. I'm excited to bring you this presentation today about why we love Apple Photos, taught by two Apple Photo experts who are also members of the Photo Managers. Meet Paul, whose career path has always followed the intersection of creativity and tech. He's a trained photographer and has a significant experience at Apple as a genius and creative trainer, which inspired him to start Blue Water Imaging as a consulting and educational resource to help support the explosive growth of digital photography created by the iPhone. And then also, Isabel's mission is to empower busy parents to take charge of the thousands of photos they accumulate on their iPhones. And she has used her background as an artist to teach clients how to think like a pro. She's a regular speaker also at the Photo Managers and also the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. You have a lot to learn from both of these. I'll let them take it from here.
Hey, Kathy, thanks for the introduction. So I'm Paul. I'm here with Isabel today, and we're going to be talking to you about organizing with Apple Photos. It used to be that our primary mission was gathering old photos and possibly scanning or old photos on a hard drive and collecting them, deduping, putting them all together to come up with one good solid collection of photos for our clients. And that still is the case for sure. But along the way, many more things have happened, and it's really because photos have become part of our lifestyle. The iPhone has changed everything. And so now we are becoming visual storytellers. Yes, we have those old photos from generations back. We have some historical photos. We have some of our old photos that have been just sitting around in shoe boxes that need to be scanned and put into our collection so that we can enjoy them. But on top of that, we're taking more and more photos every day. We're adding new photos to those collections. We're making videos. We're making live photos. We're doing panoramas. We're doing all these cool new things that we can do now on mobile devices. And it's really, really great. But it also changes the whole nature of how we organize photos. We may have photos sitting there that are decades old and have to be preserved. We may have photos that have a 2-hour lifespan in the time that it takes to use it and share it with somebody and then delete it from our phones. So the task has become more of a management system. We are going out, we're creating new photos all the time, and we're creating digital files from older photos. We're organizing all that stuff together, and we're sharing that. And then we go out and we do it all over again. So it's become a much bigger task, a much more dynamic task. And where we used to think, I used to think of photos as kind of artifacts, something from an earlier time. Photos are now becoming living documents. In fact, our entire collections are becoming living documents that we need to monitor, we need to nurture, we need to work with in order to keep everything working the way that we want it to and accessible in the way that we want it to. So we feel that Apple has certainly been a big contributor to this whole process and is definitely a player in how to solve it. So we're going to take a quick tour of Apple Photos. I'm going to go through an overview, more the hardware, software kind of thing, and then Isabel's going to take over and give you some tips and tricks that are favorites of hers to help you start the process and start to get a handle on what you've got in front of you today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the user experience. We're going to talk about Apple Photo libraries and why they matter. We're going to talk about backing up your Mac and iPhone. It's extremely important. If you haven't gotten that message by now, this is crucial. You can't organize it if you don't have it. We're going to talk about ease of use and how important that is, and how much more important that is getting as our photo libraries get bigger and bigger. It simply is a matter of how much time do you have to devote to this. And you know you need to, but you want to do it in the most efficient way possible. So starting out, I think of Apple and Apple technology as organizing in a box. we're talking about Apple Photos here, but it really does apply in other ways as well. So what makes Apple work is the fact that it's a cohesive system. Steve Jobs' philosophy was that if you controlled the hardware and the software and built all of it so it all worked well together, you could deliver the best experience. Now, you can argue whether or not that is the best experience, but it certainly has been successful, and I feel it's been particularly successful when we talk about photos and photography. The system is easy to use. It has built-in image protection, so when something goes into an Apple Photos library, there's a level of protection that you get for that image that doesn't exist in other ways. It is an automated organization system that is very efficient, and it also gives you manual options if you want to go in and design a structure yourself. You can kind of go either way with it. It makes it very easy to do backups, and certainly easy to do sharing and publishing if you like doing books or projects and so forth, or publishing to the internet. It basically becomes this sort of media hub that we've talked about in other ways, but it really has a feature set that's very, very attractive as an active consumer photographer today. Now, originally, this was just a device. So if we take a look at the iMac as sort of our core device here, in the old days, this would have been where it sort of started and ended. We would put photos into this, we would import, we would scan and import, we would insert photo cards, whatever we were doing, we dumped it into this collection. And we could plug in a backup hard drive, do a time machine backup, and we had this sort of all-in-one little universe. Well, as Apple expanded and developed the iPhone and the iPad and all these other devices, it became obvious that people wanted to have that same experience across the whole ecosystem, as it became, of devices. So that is how it works. So now, instead of an iMac delivering a photo directly to an iPad, which it can, but which in the old days it had to get it to the iPad. Now everything gets synced through iCloud. So the devices are all signed into iCloud. iCloud is sort of the grand central station. Anything that's deleted one place gets deleted every place. Everything that's added someplace gets added every place. Organization travels across to other devices, so that you can start an organization process on your desktop computer and you can continue it on your laptop when you're traveling. It's a very, very cool system, and it works really well. So this is the essence of what's going on with the ecosystem. Now, the core of that is this concept of the Apple Photo Library. And the library is a database that holds all the photos and manages the relationship between the photos and delivers the instructions that get synced out to the other devices through iCloud so that everything stays consistent. It has a variety of ways that you can view that media, but the media is managed in this library. And the libraries across all those devices are all the same, so that you get some level of backup. We'll talk about that in a sec. It's not a high level, but it certainly is not bad in an emergency. One thing that I used to see when I worked at Apple was the idea of splitting up libraries because they got too big or unwieldy, or people wanted to organize different like subgroups. And at the time, there wasn't this process, and Photos actually was not nearly as sophisticated as it is today. So today, having one library with all your photos and being able to still not feel overwhelmed by all those photos in one place is possible. There's ways to do it, and we teach that, other people teach that, or you can certainly have it done for you. There also is some built-in clutter control, which is pretty cool now. So in certain views, you will not see the photos of documents and the 5 extra selfies that you took, and all those things that ultimately become clutter as you're looking through your photos. One exceptionally cool thing is how the organizing process is so visual in Apple Photos. So here's a case where on the iPhone, these are 4 different ways to look at the same photos. So you look at it in the year view, look at it in months view, look at it in days view, which is really cool, by the way, because it distills these down into what used to be called moments. Or you can look at everything. And this all photos group can be expanded out so you have larger thumbnails, or it can be collapsed like this so you can like skim through multiple years very quickly. A lot of variety, a lot of options in how you look at things. And if you take a little bit of time to explore that, you're going to find for different views, for different purposes, for different types of collections, you're going to find a view, I'm almost certain, that you're going to enjoy and be able to use in a really efficient way. Now, on the Mac, this is a year view on the Mac. So similar concept, just spread out because we have more room to work with here. What is important to state that people don't all realize is that the photos are automatically sorted by date. So they are automatically sorted into years, into months, into whatever time slice you're used to looking at. And for people who I've run into who've spent a lot of time organizing inside photos into folders according to year and so forth, they can still do that if they want to. But we're just saying that it's not necessary. If you're comfortable with this kind of view, then that work is already done for you the second that you drop that photo in the collection, assuming that the date stamp is correct. There's a lot of other groupings here too that are very cool. You can search on panoramas, you can search on time lapses or screenshots, multiple things. Isabel's going to go into a little bit of that in a minute, as well as searching capabilities, which are awesome and get better every year. So this is just a long way of saying that if you haven't played around inside Apple Photos for a while, it's really worth a look right now. This year in particular, there are a lot of ways that you can organize things and enjoy things that really weren't there before, and you may have missed them if you haven't been in there for a while. Now, backing up again, we did mention that merely the fact that those libraries are synced across multiple devices, if you have them, is a form of backup. We don't consider it a real hard backup because it can be manipulated. You know, if you delete something accidentally, it's going to be deleted off of all devices. But in a pinch, to recover photos, if your phone, falls overboard or gets run over or something, you can do that. I mean, it gives you a first level of backup. Now, for a deeper level, we go to a time machine backup of whatever Mac we're designating as your hub. And you should have a hub. There should be a place that is local to you that you can get at that has all your originals and has what I would call a master library of everything that you have. And that is easy to back up with Time Machine. You have to set it up. It needs an external hard drive of some sort, but that's an easy thing to do that anyone can hook up. So it's there. It's really important. And if you can look at the photo managers and get those sort of principles of backing up, the 3-2-1 principle. Also, it's really important possibly more important, to have your iPhone backed up. And backing it up to iCloud is the simplest way to do it. It's your phone is out there with you in the world, so it is more at risk than probably any of your other devices. and having that backed up so that should it get lost or should it get damaged, you can buy a replacement, plug it in, sign it into iCloud, and get everything back. Is awesome. I've helped so many people go through that, and it is a priceless tool, and it comes along for the ride. So make sure that you do a backup for your iPhone. So finally, the last big thing is simply the message that Apple Photos, because it's common across all these devices, gives you a similar experience and works in the same way. So once you learn how to use Photos on your phone, it's very easy to pick up on the Mac or pick up on the iPad or other devices. You don't have to learn multiple apps to perform essentially all the things that we're trying to do in photo organizing and in photo management. So that's it. That's the high level nuts and bolts of this whole thing. We walked through it, went through the overview, talked about the Apple Photos ecosystem and how that can really make your life easier. Backup, can't say that enough. Again, we're talking about all these photos in one library where you can get at everything that you need, and a consistent visual user experience. And the visual is like with a capital V. It's a really rich environment, and it gets richer every year. So I hope that this has been helpful to people, and I hope that you are excited about giving it a try. If you don't have Apple products, or if you have old Apple products, once you have the opportunity, go down to an Apple store and play around with the new devices down there. Try some of this stuff. We'll have somebody show you what you can do with Apple Photos. It's really cool, and so that is it for me. So I will hand it over to Isabel and wish you a good day for now.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Paul, for this great presentation about the whole Apple ecosystem. So now we're going to dive deep into photos on your phone and on your computer. So here's my 8 favorite things about Apple Photos. First, that it's kind of simple. It comes with your Mac. I take photos on my phone. It all sync. I like that simple. But our phone are so great that we take a lot of photos. So if you're kind of like me, you might be just overwhelmed, and photo overload is real. So we want to organize, but we don't even have the time to look at the photos. So let's see what we could do about this. First, what I want to do is to assess and realize how many photos we take a year, and kind of want to see how the habits have changed through the years. So what I want you to do is you take your iPhone and you're going to follow along with me with this one, or you could do it later. But I want you to find out how many pictures you have. Take a guess. Okay, so the best way to figure this out is you go to your photo app, and you're going to go to the search bar, and in the search bar you're going to go and type the number. So go to number 2 and 0. So what is going to happen is you're going to have every year, 2019, 18, 17, whatever you have, with the exact number of photos you take every year. So see if this number goes up or down, or it's pretty equal. And then see kind of an average of the number of photos you have. And most people take an average of 5,000 photos. So let's figure out what 5,000 is. And 5,000, if you print your photos, they fit into a banker box, right? And this is probably what your parents took in whole generation. So no wonder we overwhelmed. No wonder that is a lot. So the thing is different too, is our parents took just memories, the highlights, the vacation, the trips, the babies, etc., etc. But in addition to this, we take every single moment, we record everything, but we also take screenshot of things we've seen on the web. We have notes, we have reminders, we have where we park the car, and we have a lot of junk. Okay, so we have to do something about this. All right. I want to focus on quality rather than quantity. So of course you have your camera, you're going to take 10 pictures to get a good one. But to finish a photo, you really want to just select that good one and delete the rest. It's easy to say, it's a little bit hard to do. So I'm going to help you today to just do that. So there is a little button that you all have, which is the hot button on the computer and on your phone. This is really easy. So what I'm going to ask you is to look at every photo and determine if you love it, put a heart on it. If it's good, you keep it. And if you do not want to keep it, bad, or you don't need it, delete. So it's pretty simple, right? But you have to do this for all your photos. Not at once. You do this, you take some time to do this. All right, so the first thing I want to do, my first tip is, photos is going to be all about people, right? So I want you to go on your phone, you can do this right now, take the album view, and you're going to scroll down, and you're going to look at what's come up in people and places. So if you've never done anything, you probably have a sea of people, and everybody mixed up. Your favorite people mixed up with everybody else. So what I want you to do is you tap on the person that is the most important to you. Don't tap everybody. And so this will go up to the top. So you'll see what's going to happen is the phone is going to ask you, who is this person? Do you want to add additional photo to confirm the additional photos? And it will group all the photo in one place, right? So you have your favorite people up to the top, you put their name, and then you just focus on them. And then tap on one person, and you will see a beautiful album, kind of curated. So when we say curated, is the phone is only going to show one picture out of a series of a few. So it's so much nicer to look at this way. Right? So if you want to see every single photo of that person, you'll just tap on show more and you'll see everything. But it's just way too many, right? So get into the habit of favoriting the photos and you will see that it will change your life. So this brings me to number 2. This you could do in any way you want. You are going to, for example, have we have vacation in Cape Cod, and I have 2 photos, and I can't decide which one I like. So if I want to show this to my friend, I just want to show you a subsection, right? So I think it's much better that I heart this one, and then all these photos are going to go in one album with my favorite photos of everybody, right? So it will go into this favorite album that I could find this in album section, and when I go to the party I only show these, and my friends are gonna still like me after 50 photos, right? Because I'm not showing them everything. Okay, now once we learn how to favorite, we can more easily declutter. So we want to get rid of all the junk. So here's one tip to do this faster. So I'm going here to the selfie in the media album. I go to selfies because you and me have a lot of selfies. So you have selected the one you want, and you're going to tap and select the one you want to delete. But if I have a bunch of them, what you simply could go is you take your finger and slide right and then slide down. So then you could just delete them at once. So this is great for everybody who have little kids that love to take pictures, and you have 500 of them. So you just go swipe and swipe down, done. So the same tip of deleting faster, you could apply it a little bit differently to your Mac. So let's see. If you delete a photo on your Mac, you'll get a pop-up window that tells you, are you sure you want to delete this photo? And you're going to say, press yes, I want to delete. A faster way to do this is to work with your 2 hands, and you will command delete the photo or a batch of photos that you've selected, so you delete them faster. So command delete is a way, and you could do this with anything on your Mac, right? Command delete, boom, it goes to the trash. So you could go through many photos this way. All right, command delete. You can hear that I am all about saving times, because you have so much volume, you want to be efficient with your time. So you have less photo now to So time. So you have less photo now to look through, so it's easier to find the photo you like, but we don't want to scroll to find the photos. You want to search for them and asking the computer to go to a subset of photos to find them faster. So you could find them by location, you could find them by albums, you could also get them by moment or category. The phone has grouped with artificial intelligence. It has grouped your trips, your memory, etc. You could go directly there, or you could simply type in what you want to find, because Apple Photos, and this is all private, has indexed the scene and the subject and the object. It's all in your phone or your computer, and you could find them this way. So ask Siri to find flowers, it'll find the flowers. Siri will find the flowers for you. So here I want to say, for example, let's just find all the pictures of the wine bottle that I've taken. I meet a lot of people, they do this and they could never find that photo because it's buried during many years. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to type wine. You could, for example, type multiple terms like wine in New York or wine at home, stuff like that, and they're all going to appear, magic. If you want to keep that selection, we're going to go to tip number 6, is you add them, you select them all, and you add them to an album. And that will just stay there, and then you could look at them and add if you want later. Okay, so adding to album is great on the phone. You could do this, I think, more easily on the computer. So on the computer, it's easier because you have the sidebar, you have album, you could add and change and do anything you want. Okay, you could organize the sidebar with folders, and this is really up to you how you want to decide to organize. Okay, so let's move on. So we talked about looking at photos on the phone, but the phone cannot do everything. And we're going to go into this. The computer is much more powerful, and you could automate a bunch of stuff in there. So let's go there. Okay. Tip number 7, you could add your own info. So you're going to open the information pan, and you can add anything you want. So you could retrieve the information either on your phone or on your computer. So this is my information panel here. I could, if I want, I could add a title, I could add a description, I could add a keyword. If there's no face, I could add a face if the computer had missed it. And if this is a photo that you have taken with a camera, or if it's a scan, you could also add a location and the map will pop up. So, word of caution here. I don't want you to put keyword for everything because, for example, here, the artificial intelligence can find that this is a boat. So I would not waste my time to input boat, but I might input something that's just specific to me, so then I could find it. All right, so let's move on to my last tip. We are on the computer, and we could do smart album. So you tell the computer to find a certain subset of photos, and then you add a criteria, and then the computer will find all this photo for you and create an album. So in the future, if you have photos that obey this criteria, it will automatically go there. So I like to do this with favorites, right? So let me give you an example here. Let's say I wanted to do a graduation album for my son. So what I would do is I would create a smart album. I'll type the name, and I'll get photo is a favorite. I could change that if I want, but I'm going to add a second criteria, and I'm going to tell the computer to match all of these following conditions. So the photo is a favorite, and the person, it could be a keyword, it could be anything, include my son's name, right? I'll press OK, and then in one click, I'll get all the photos that are for my son that are favorite. So it's not all the photos. I don't have to do this tedious manual work to choose every photo, because remember, I have put favorite in the past and I have my people album. So I just tell the computer, find all these photos, and I have here 77 photos, and that could help me build my book. So you could create smart album any way you want. You just create condition, match them all, and then you could do. So, for example, you could do years, you could do first year of my baby, you could do anything that fits what you want. So there is no one way of organizing your photos in Apple Photos. It's all chronological first, but you organizing the way you want. So it's going to be a combination of this following thing. And this, I have not enough time to tell you now, but you could research, you could learn more about it. But it's going to be a combination of this. It's going to be a combination of keyword, finding the smart album that works for you, having your albums in the sidebar and cleaning up so it makes sense, using the artificial intelligence to find what you need, right? And doing this faster with shortcut. And in this way, you could have the most important photo that you value, and you could export them, you could share them, and most of it, you could enjoy it. So I hope that you could export them, you could share them, and most of it, you could enjoy it. So I hope that these tips are going to help you, but especially to get you started and excited, because we really want the photos that you've taken from the last maybe 20 years. You can have photos. I want you to enjoy them. So if this is too big for you, you could go to the photo managers and find someone that can help you. You could call me, you can call Paul, right? And if you have any burning question now, we are there to answer them. So thank you, Steve, to having us with you. We're ready for your questions. All right.
Density flowing today. So did you take a lot of notes? I took notes, and there's so let me just kind of recap and do a little bit of administrative work, and then we will bring our guests on to answer your questions, of which there are so very many. So I'll keep this short and brief. Replay. This replay will be sent out to you later today or tomorrow. It will contain the entire video replay, but the chat is not included. Unfortunately, that's not a feature that we have yet within Demio, but you'll be able to watch it again. You can watch it in multiple times if you choose to. The replay will be available to you for a couple of days. After that, what happens is we take the replay, and it's available in the future, but it's been archived in our webinar archives for the use of our patrons. So the DottoTech channel here is brought to you through the generosity of you, of our supporters, and many of you are online with us right now through the crowdfunding site at Patreon. So we invite you to check out what Patreon has to offer. One of the big things that it does is it allows channels like ours to be on the air and to deliver this kind of free content to you on an ongoing basis. Now we've done over 140 of these webinars on topics everything from content creation to online marketing to productivity. Many of you have been on for many of them, so you recognize that we've covered the gamut as far as topics are concerned. All of those webinars are available for our patrons to go and review whenever they need in our Webinar Wednesday archives. And there are other perks as well, including discounts for our courses. Excuse me. And so I encourage you to visit patreon.com/DottoTech. April will drop the link. And we will, to those of you who are our patrons, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us, and it keeps us on the air. And those of you considering, thank you for your consideration. So now let me get Paul and Isabel to fire up their cameras and mics and come back in. And we will get to your questions because there's a lot of them, and I don't want to keep everybody too long today. So we will get you guys turned on. And Paul, are you there? I can hear you.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Good job. Yes. So were you happy with the questions flowing through?
Yeah, I was like busy from beginning to end. So there's some great questions. Certainly a lot of things we've heard before, but it's always good to hear them again.
It's like drinking from a fire hose, eh?
Yeah, it comes from everywhere.
Yeah, it gets pretty intense. April and I do this all the time, so we kind of were used to the chaotic nature of the webinar, but if I forget for a lot of new people. Sometimes it's just like, whoa. All right, but let's now blast through the questions. So, and we got 25 of them, so I'm going to try and get through as many. And if you have more questions, put them in. We will get to them as quickly as we can. But so I'm going to ask you to keep your answers kind of short and to the point as we go through them, because there are so many, and we'd like to keep it to as reasonable amount of time as possible. So we're going to start to begin with the first one, which comes from Dane. I'm looking for a solution to allow me to move all my photos from Google to somewhere else for a backup. I just finished exporting via Google Takeout. Oh, why did somebody click that answer? Don't click it unless I do it, please, because I'm reading it. Okay. That's it. Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, no, it's okay.
I thought it was for me.
Did you do that, Isabel?
Yes.
Shame on you.
Sorry.
Don't click the mouse. I'll do the mouse clicking. So he's just finished exporting it via Google Takeout. So he's gone through Google Takeout, but which was a real pain. Is there a better way?
So he's asking that he has got them out of Google Takeout, and now he wants to move them somewhere else. Is that?
Yeah.
Well, once they're out of Google Takeout, I assume he can simply import them into whatever he wants, whether it's photos or some other application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the key there really to know is that once Google has your photos in Google Photos, it's great to manage them, but the only way out is Google Takeout. There's no other export mechanism within Google, which is, as you quite elegantly say, a pain. How can I share the photos with the location data intact? This is from Lisa.
Yes, that's a preference actually in Photos that you can specify when you export them whether or not to include the location information. So it also I assume that she's including location information on photos when she takes them. You know, you have to sort of start with that. But there's a checkbox, I believe it's in the export panel in Photos on the Mac, that lets you choose whether or not you want to share the location as part of the data.
Thank you. So Joe's asking, are there some recommended dupe finders for Mac and iOS? So to take us quickly through the duplicate photo story in the Apple ecosystem.
People really recommend Photo Sweeper is one. And then you could also, on your phone, you could use Gemini 2 maybe, it's called.
Now, will that work within Apple Photos, or do you have to export them and then re-import them?
No, it will go and fetch them, and then you could do it that way. So you don't have to move photos in and out. It's good. Mm-hmm.
It actually indexes your Apple Photos library, so you don't have to export, you don't have to do anything else. It works very well. It's good to take a tutorial because there are tons of settings. It's very powerful, but everything works right within your library. It's very nice.
What he's going to do is going to put them into a specific folder in your photo, and then you delete that. You check, and then you delete.
So is this something that you fire and forget for a period of time as you start the process going and then go away and like have a life and come back because it's going to take it a few days to process if you've got a lot of photos?
For the duplicate, it goes very fast.
Yeah, it's not very, it's
okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's not bad.
Ken's asking a sidebar question. He was asking how the presentation was being done with the speaker in the corner. They used Loom. Like I recognized the screen. They both used Loom to record their screens, which is a simple screencasting utility. It's available for free or $5 a month for the pro version, or $4. Actually, April, if you can go to the channel, we did a video on it just a couple of months ago, a tutorial on how to use Loom. It's a great, simple screencasting tool.
Yes.
Joe's asking, why are videos no longer syncing from iOS to Mac Photo to the Apple Photos? Is that a problem?
Sometimes sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sometimes it's just a storage issue. You just need to up your storage, and then you pay a little bit extra, and then everything syncs after that. There could be many different ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll just say that I noticed there were several questions about syncing, and this is one of the things, the caveats with using the ecosystem is it's very sensitive to having up-to-date software. So, this is one of those things. It's amazing what the software can do, and it's very, tricky code. So the key thing is make sure you've done all your updates. If you're more than one, certainly more than two operating systems behind, you're almost certainly going to have some of these kinds of issues.
Run the updates.
Yeah, that's my big takeaway.
So the question, interesting one from Martin, is there a way to move and sync photos from my wife in a different Apple ID to an iCloud library under my Apple ID? So combining two collections.
That's usually what most parents wants to do, but there's a disagreement. Maybe you don't want all the photo of your wife. They could just make this bigger. I see this all the time. So it's like maybe you can favorite some photos and then airdrop them to whoever is in charge of the library. Paul, what do you have to say?
Okay. But there's no automatic process for combining two
Google
accounts.
has that, but not Apple.
Yeah. One thing you can do, though, if one person initiates an export, so let's say the husband wants to share, a handful of photos from a trip or something, there is a way that you can script that so that you can save it to a shared folder in, say, Dropbox. And there's a wonderful little application called Hazel that you can install, which will automatically take those photos, import them into the wife's iPhoto library, or photo library, sorry, and then delete them out of the Dropbox.
Again, we have a nice little video on using Hazel, which I'll get April to grab and drop. But Hazel is it's a great macro tool for us. Yeah, absolutely. This is probably too long an answer for us to deal with elegantly. But if you use an iPhone but not a Mac computer, if you're on another computer, is there a best? What do you find most of your clients using as far as their toolkit?
I usually tell people your next computer might be your Mac for you. It's no easy answer because it works seamlessly. So when you have an iPhone and a PC, it's not the greatest thing, but that's life.
I guess the most seamless thing that you can get, the closest you can get, is if you go into the Google ecosystem and then use Google Photos. If that's the case,
yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, the one other thing I will say, because many people have tried this whole workaround to come up with something easy. I think in the end, the easiest solution is to get iCloud for Windows, which at least preserves some of the stuff that you got into the iPhone 4, and it downloads it to your Windows computer in folders by year. So that's fairly straightforward and seems to be as trouble-free as anything.
For anyone that has this problem, I'll say clean up your photo first on your phone, and then you have less of a mess on your PC. Clean up first. Or you could clean up in Google, because Google will be syncing, and then that's one stop.
Yeah. Edward says, what date does Apple Photos use to organize? File creation or the date of them in the metadata? Some of my photos have dates that do not match the date it was taken. And that's one area that does seem to jump up and bite a lot of people in the rump, is the metadata within the photos.
You want to take that? Or?
I'm going to start. If you have scanned photo, obviously it's going to be the date of the scan. So this you could do manually. You could change them all. You could pass change. If you have photos that don't have the right date, it could be because your camera has the setting went wrong. Then you could change that to an approximate date. But usually if you take this with your iPhone, the date is going to be right. Okay, Paul, you want to continue?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, because again, this is something we see all the time, even among the organizing community, that what people aren't really aware of is that the file that you see on your Finder on the desktop is actually a container for the image inside. And all that the operating system cares about is the file information, not the image information. And that's why when you export a file from Photos and save it to your desktop, what it shows as the creation date is that day, because in fact the file was created that day. You just happened to toss something inside it that was created a long time ago. So so the message there is don't do date sorting in the Finder. You need to either do it in Photos, or you needed to use Lightroom or some other savvy photo savvy software in order to get the right answer for that.
Good. So lots of layers, and that you can see how people get confused on something like that.
Oh yeah.
Maria's asking a question that I think a lot of people have. It's the fear of accidentally deleting photos, their photos. So that's one of the reasons we end up with so many identical collections across our devices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting rid of my computer and I want to wipe everything off of the hard drive. How do I prevent it from deleting photos on iCloud? Because they see this and this scares them. I don't want the deleting of photos to sync across all devices.
Mm-hmm.
So people think that when they delete their photos from this device, because it's sync across all devices, that now all of their devices are going to have the photos deleted. Can you explain that process and give Maria some comfort?
I'll let you answer.
Sure. So the main point is the first point, the fact that the computer is synced. So when you set up your computer, you signed in to iCloud, you signed into this ecosystem that it created. All you really need to do is sign out of that ecosystem. And if you sign out of iCloud, which you really don't want left on your computer anyway for any of your data, then you now have a disconnected computer. You can do whatever you want with it, and it should not affect anything else that's on any of the connected devices.
So as you prepare your computer for disposal, you sign out of iCloud, and then you do all of your wiping and deleting after you've signed out of iCloud. That is the process that will save you any heartache. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And you make sure you don't sign on one last time after.
Right.
Okay. I'm not sure this is... Robin's asking, where is the Mac Library Hub? I think, is he just referring to the fact that you guys referred to a hub?
I think so.
Yeah,
The hub essentially becomes your choice, and the hub has been talked about. It's a standard protocol for photo organizing that you want someplace locally where you have all the original files that you can further back up, you have access to, and so forth.
Yeah, this is the photo managers. We're talking all these photo managers here, and it's their term for whatever service you use where you collect all of your photos before you begin to manage them. So they're all, it's a bin. In video editing, we'd call it the bin that we have for whatever the resources are for that video editing project. It's where all of them are collected, so it's the hub. So it's where everything flows into. So it's not an actual product, it's a philosophy.
Right.
That might be a way to look at it.
And a little tip here too. I have a lot of clients who are upgrading to newer computers, and I tell them, you know what, this is the perfect time to take that old computer, we'll freshen it up a little bit, put it in your basement, and that can become your photo hub. And we'll
use like a server.
Like a server, exactly. And that works really well, particularly when people are buying MacBook Airs and so forth that just don't have a lot of storage space. You know, that old computer.
Take that old iMac with a big ass hard drive and use that. Yep.
That's it.
Yep. What a good suggestion. What is the best way to get older photos or photos from a camera into iCloud?
You will, I guess you will just copy them, you drag them and move them into the photos. And if the cloud is on, they will just move up to the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just a drag and drop interface. And then paying attention, because it's all then, see, here's the key, is if you are concerned about some of the metadata, you want to add some tags, etc. to it, if you move them all in at once, then you can sort based on the new photos that you brought in, and you can apply all of those criteria at that point.
Absolutely.
So that would be being a little bit organized at that point is a good idea.
When you import a folder, you could keep that folder organization. So your photo will be in one folder, and that's great. Well, and also they will be all in an import folder at the same time. So you can always find them.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm just going to give people a heads up. We're about 2 minutes from the top of the hour. I'm going to get you guys to just hang around with me for maybe 10 more minutes. We'll blast through the rest of the questions. Anybody who has to leave now because you have other appointments, the replay will be sent out as soon as we can get it out to you, so you can catch the last of the questions if you have to go. But if you do have to go, thank you so much for spending the time with us. Those of you who can stick around, we will continue on with these questions here for just a few more moments. Next one is this one here. My iPhone, iPad, and MacBook Pro all have the latest software, but sync with iCloud only happens with the laptop and the phone. How do I include my iPad? So Brooke is having trouble managing his whole iCloud world, which is not an unusual problem.
I guess each device has its preferences. So you need to set it up yourself in going into the device and set it up, right?
So you go into your user preferences in the iPad, and there you sign into your iCloud account, and at that point there you become part of the family. Yep. Yeah, I find, of all of the cloud, and I use a lot of different services, I find personally iCloud to be the most obtuse. I find it confusing at times, and I go, why is iCloud? What am I doing with iCloud? And I still get lost in iCloud. I think, if I'm perfectly honest, it's my least favorite cloud service out there.
I understand. I get it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. We have Rebecca, who says, I have slides that I then projected and took digital photos of. Oh, okay. And then I loaded them into my Mac. I also have photos that I took before the iPhone. The dates of these are wrong. Is there a way that I can give these photos with incorrect dates? Is there a way I can give these photos the correct dates to help me find the photos? So that's a big project, right?
Yes and no, because you could do this in one batch, and then you would just change the date. You'll change them all, and they will, if they 1960, for example, slide, and then they will go all the way up, and they will be the first one on your library. So this is pretty easy. You just need to find in a menu and then change the date. That's it. It's actually pretty easy.
Will people typically do that with very gross dates? So they'll just go 1960, 1961, 1962, or will they try and get down to, because I know they can't get to like November 7th, 1958, but do they typically try month and year or just year?
Whatever you could remember. If they kind of in the order you want, you can. You could do as precisely as possible, but I wouldn't go change the hours. It's up to you, because you could move them into albums, and then if you have them in albums, you're just organizing the way you want to see them. Because if you didn't scan them at the right time, that could be a problem. And then you don't want to waste time doing things like this that you don't need necessarily to do.
Exactly. Okay. Peter's got a good question. Can I have the photo library placed in a separate hard drive? So can I set up in my preferences to have it stored elsewhere? This is especially useful with people with smaller drives.
Absolutely. We do it all the time.
And the process, what does he look for?
So what he does, if he's creating a brand new photo library, you can hold down the Option key when you launch Photos, and it will prompt you to choose a library, because you can actually have multiple libraries if you choose to, or it will give you the option to create a new one, and you can create that new one any place that your computer can see, an external hard drive or even a network drive if it comes down to that. So it's really pretty easy to do. I would, it's more than we want to get into here. I would recommend going to searching for that on Apple support, but it's very easy, it's very doable, and you can go ahead and do that.
Okay. Brooke is asking, I have thousands of images downloaded from Ancestry with only numbers for names. Some of them have been downloaded more than once. So would the number name indicate the same photo and resolution? The number name indicate the same photo and resolution. Oh, yeah. I think it would it not? Unless you downloaded them at a different resolution, because if you're downloading, sometimes you can set the resolution of what you're downloading.
Well,
But if they're in separate folders, they'll have the same numbers. It's only if they're in the same folder that the OS will try and change the number.
usually when you download twice, it'll put a number 1 or 2 next to it. So I'm not sure exactly what happened. It will be interesting to see exactly what happened.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a bit of a challenging question. That's kind of an individual case. This was based on your advice that you gave in it. This is from Christina. When I search for the number of photos in Photos on my phone, I write 20, but I don't get the number of photos all of the years. Only some years, for instance, 2013 and 2014.
She solved it.
Does not appear.
So I just told her to. It's solved.
Okay. Okay. Good. And how do I delete a picture? Ian says, how do I delete a picture of the same thing? For example, I have 2 pictures with the same. Maybe I imported them twice.
Sometimes what you want to do is you want to look at the information and then you just look at the information of the photo. So if this is exactly the same number, same resolution, you just pick one and delete one. But usually when you import, photo is going to ask you, are you sure you want to import because I already have it? So usually when you have in Apple Photos, you don't have so many duplicates because usually you will notice this when you import them.
Okay. John asks, if you save to Google Photos, will they still flow to Google Photos if you turn on Save to iCloud? So what he's asking is, can I back up into both places at the same time, or does one take priority?
Same thing, both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you have Google Photos turned on, when you open Google Photos, your photo library will sync to Google Photos. If you have iCloud turned on, it will sync to iCloud, unless, I will give one caveat. If you have a setting where you ask it to delete the photos from your phone after it's been uploaded, so you can set that setting in Dropbox or in all of them, I think, right? Where you can delete the media from your phone once it's been uploaded. So if it's been uploaded to that service that deletes it, then when you open the second service, it won't sync. Is that an accurate way of describing it?
Right. If you delete in Apple Photo, it doesn't delete in Google Photos. But if you go, it depends.
What I'm saying is,
how you set up. Everybody's different.
What I'm saying is, if you got it syncing to both services, but you've got your preferences set up so that when you upload to Apple Photo, to upload to iCloud, it deletes it from the device. If you haven't opened up Google Photos in the meantime, it won't sync because it won't be there next time you open Google Photos. Google Photos only syncs when you open Google Photos on the phone.
I guess so.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably better to just have one, or you'll get confused. Roy's asking in this one, yes, can you change the date of a scanned photo that's already in the album?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just... Patricia's asking, and this is, I think, she's asking, how do I remove photos from the iPhone to open space but still keep the photos on my computer? That's just your settings.
Maybe, Paul, you can explain about the optimization?
Yeah, I think I may have responded to that. But this is something we hear a lot. People think naturally if they can delete something off their phone, it will still be in iCloud. But that's not the case. And this was, if you remember back to the ecosystem map, everything is everywhere. So the advantage is that you can make an edit in one place and it distributes across everything, so you don't have to do it twice. The downside is that everything is the same. So you have to be careful about that kind of thing. And frankly, an iPhone with a small drive is where we see that issue. People are trying to find some space. The first thing that we really recommend is to make sure that they've turned on optimization. And optimization is where when you take a photo, the original photo gets uploaded to and synced up to iCloud, which is great. And then what it does is it sends back a lower res version of that same photo, which you can work with, you can view, and if you should ever need to edit it or send it to somebody, it will then go grab the original and bring it back down. But we did some tests actually just a month ago about this, and we found that in my particular case, the size of my photo library on my iPhone was under 3% of the size of my original library on iCloud, which is a huge, huge savings, right?
So in this new world, we never delete photos from our phone if you have optimization turned on.
Mm-hmm. If it's something that you want to keep, there's no need to delete it. It just it gets you can organize it differently, and quite frankly, that I happened to be at Apple when we were transitioning from iPhoto to Photos, and one of the big things was people were carving up their iPhoto libraries for this very reason. There was not a lot of storage space.
They haven't done a good job of communicating this.
They haven't.
Yeah.
and I'll be really honest.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that Apple, I think, has done brilliantly. And they haven't communicated the details as well as I would like, which is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing.
Where do I go to do that?
To turn on optimization.
Yes.
You go into settings, go down.
Okay.
You go down to the Photos app.
Just a minute, folks. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to do this right now because
usually when you run out of storage, sometimes it pops up, or even on the computer, you'll get a message that say, we suggest that you use the optimization. But it's probably already on, no? I mean, usually.
Oh, that's only if you're using iCloud Photos, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. See,
Correct.
Remember what I said about how much I hate iCloud?
I see.
I don't use iCloud Photos.
So if you don't have it, yeah, you can't do it.
Steve,
because you've got to work on your fish photos, Steve, right?
Yeah, that's right. Walk on the wild
They're all in
side
Google
here,
Photos.
I see. I see.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
But that is golden information. Those of you that stuck around this webinar long enough to hear that one tip, because then even if you have like a 64 gig iPhone, you can still have all of your photos there all the time. What a life changer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
okay. Why didn't you start with this? Why didn't you start with this? Okay.
We expected
we like to save the best till the end, you know.
I guarantee you, 90% of the people didn't have this, didn't know this. Maybe I'm less, but I didn't.
Okay.
All right. This one does drive me crazy. Bursts. Oh God, when I accidentally get into bursts, what a mess.
It's okay.
So when I do bursts, I delete them down to the one picture, but then they come back in my photo album, Jen. It says, why?
I have not seen this. I don't get it. Sometimes you have to accept it. You have to say, yes, I want to delete that or keep that one. It's a little bit difficult. It might be one.
Okay. I don't think burst was Apple's best idea.
It's good for
now at least it's harder to do accidentally because you have to slide the button to do it.
It takes time to choose. So yes.
Okay, so Robin's asking for a good resource. Where do I go to get directions besides Google to create my hub and export? So you guys have some resources that will help there, right?
Yes, and actually the Photo Manager's website is really a great place to do that. You know, that this is part of the core strategy for photo organizing. I would recommend starting there, and then of course you can always reach out to us for for individual
There's also
guidance.
the Facebook community, and I think Kathy put that into the website. So go to Facebook group and then find the Photo Manager Advice Pro. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Winona was just wanting verification, so I can have my Apple Photos live on an external hard drive instead of my computer. Yes. That is a good way for some, because on your computer you don't have that optimization option, so they do take up a lot more space.
You can if you want to have the optimization if you want. But it's better.
But
Yeah.
but because you want to have a local copy of all your originals, typically that's on your primary computer. So
Good stuff. Well, guys, I have to thank you so much. You opened my eyes. I learned something new, and that's pretty good.